I believe that this country is only as strong as the churches. Even our founding fathers says, failing to be the example they need to be, failing to be the leaders they need to be, failing to be the disciplinarians that they need to be, failing to be the providers that they need to be. If you don't have the backbone as a husband and as a father to be the bad guy.
Hot take, I think, to be a great husband is, what is the reason why the West, and particularly America, seems to be struggling? Why is it falling apart? Well, many people would say that there's wealth inequality, there's tension in the inflation rates, the cost of living, all of these different things are impacting why the West is struggling. But what if I told you that it's actually much simpler than that? Well, that was the argument made by Dry Creek Dwayne on the Chris Williamson podcast. And this is an interesting conversation that I think we don't talk about enough. That's a busy man.
What have you learned about the importance of fatherhood?
All right. I believe God made man. Okay. And God created man, and God gave man the word. And the word at that time was, don't eat of the fruit of those two trees. Okay. That was a symbol. That's all the word God gave man at that time. Then God gave man a work. And the work was, he said, take care of this garden. And then God gave man a woman. To help the man, okay? That man, and then the woman God gave him, that became a marriage.
This man given the macro view of the creation story.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
like
in the beginning.
And then that man and wife had children, and those children had children, and then there became governments, okay? You see where I'm going?
Chris ain't following.
In this country was founded as a Christian country. This is what I believe. People can do whatever. I believe that this country is only as strong as the churches. Even our founding father says America will remain great as long as America is good. When America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great.
Okay. Now, I love this. I think he's right. I think there's even Supreme Court cases that have referred to America as a Christian nation. I had to go back and check.
Wow.
But here's an alternative theory. Is it possible that us claiming to be a Christian nation, us claiming to be founded on Christian principles, yet not always acting congruent with those Christian principles, has caused there to be a judgment of God of sorts on this nation?
Possibly. Yeah.
Right? So I think that God works through incrementalism a lot of times, that there's a progressive revelation that happens. However, I think there's also a tension in American history to say we're a Christian nation, yet we didn't treat black folks well. We're a Christian nation. We didn't treat natives well all the time. We didn't treat the Japanese well. We didn't, right? We didn't treat the Irish well. So there's a tension there to say I'm a Christian nation, yet we're a Christian nation, yet there's a sense of incongruence in our own history.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that plays into how, in a spiritual sense, if you're I think it's worse to claim one thing and not act accordingly.
Set the bar low.
Yeah, than to just say, hey, we're a democratic republic. We have some Christian influence.
Yeah.
We're a secular country, and right versus
we're a
raising
government
the bar
that happens to be Christian, not a Christian government.
So anyway, I agree generally with what he's saying, but I do think there's some nuance there that can be unpacked.
Yep.
This country is only as strong as the churches in this country. The churches are only as strong as the families that make up those churches. Those families are only as strong as the marriages that those families are built on. And those marriages are only as strong and good as the man that God built the marriages on.
Hello.
As goes the man, so goes the marriage. As goes the marriage, so goes the family. As goes the family, so goes the churches. As goes the churches, so goes the country. Everything is built on the husband and the father.
I agree with him, even if we weren't a Christian nation in its origin. Everything he says is 100% correct, and you don't even have to throw the label, we were a Christian nation.
Yeah.
Because we were still Christian values, Christian principles, Christian churches. Everything he said is 100% fact when you see it play out in the implications of that on society.
Yes.
So you don't have to make an argument the founding fathers were this or not this, right? Shout out to my man CP in the chat who pointed out that they were both. There were some folks that went to seminary and some folks that were devoted Christians that wrote the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and there were some folks that were deists, and there were some folks that were Gnostics, and there were some folks that had heretical views, so on and so forth. But yet what he's saying is spot on. If you have a country and there's church engagement and there's practice of faith, even though there's hypocrisy in certain aspects or worldview issues, that's still going to create a more stable society.
Yeah, because the idea isn't necessarily, okay, we're the founding fathers reading their Bibles when they wrote the Constitution. The theory is that in a culture and the dominant religious belief is the Christian faith, then that means your culture is made up of Christians. If these are Christians that are not following scripture and not following Christ, then you will have the downstream effects of that, and there'll be sloppiness and there will be whatever. But if this predominant culture that resides inside of the country is really strong,
Yes.
then it affects everything, because then you get the Christians as in the high up places in government. You get the, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Shout out to Innocent Kawande. He said biblical principles benefit even non-believers.
Hello.
Go ahead.
And this country is a failure today because the fathers and the husbands have failed. Failing to be the example they need to be, failing to be the leaders they need to be, failing to be the disciplinarians that they need to be, failing to be the providers that they need to be. If you don't have the backbone as a husband and as a father to be the bad guy, you've got no business being a father or a husband.
Jeez.
There's times when you have to know this is not a good direction for my marriage, for my family. And everybody's going to be mad at me. My wife is going to be mad at me. My kids are going to hate me. But in the long run, this is a very bad direction, and I'm putting my foot down, and we're not doing that. And you become the bad guy. But you do it for the long-term strength and safety of the family. And we've lost that. I mean, we've lost that in this country to a very large degree. And so I think, our next generation is going to run the politics, they're going to run the finances, they're going to run the judicial system, everything in this country. And they're going to be the result in a very large degree. And there's going to be those who don't agree with this, but they're going to be the result of whatever their fathers made them or whatever they become because they didn't have a father.
Jeez. It's cooking.
And so I think fatherhood is paramount. I think it's paramount for the future of a society.
This is basic psychology 101.
Yeah.
Right? This is, if you don't have healthy fathers, most of society's ills are going to come down to lack of fathers in the home.
Oh, yeah. I think he took it one step further with saying husbands.
Husbands, yeah. Because, hot take, people, I think to be a great husband is to be a great father.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, you have, your priority should be making sure your marriage is healthy and stable. And out of a healthy and stable marriage, that benefits a healthy and stable family.
Remember
and
when
children.
you got into the debate with the red pill guy that was like, you can be
an adulterous. You can be an adulterous, divorced dad
and be an amazing father.
And be an amazing father.
Yeah.
I guess in a technical sense, if we're using a very superficial definition of great father, you pay the bills, you make sure your kids have food and shelter.
Yeah. But you hang out with them.
Yeah, but stability in a household is going to come down, in my opinion, and I would argue scripturally, that the husband is with his kids in the household. Now, that doesn't mean there's not exceptions to the rules and blended families don't exist and all those things aren't real. Those things are all real as well. But the scriptures are clear on what a man is called to be above reproach. One woman man, you know what I mean? His kids are to be godly kids. You know?
I think one of the core fundamentals to a father is also teaching your kids how to love a woman through example.
Come on.
Not through like, oh, let's have a sit down. You're 13 now.
Well, it's because it's
where babies
caught,
come
it's
from.
caught more than
exactly.
taught.
Yeah. And so to remove this like, oh, I'm just super present, but we're not married anymore, and I hate your mom, and she's I talk bad about her behind her back. Like that's failing as a father.
Yeah, and it does a number on the kid's psychology.
Oh yeah.
And I think people just don't want to have that conversation, but it does a huge number on kids' psychology. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.